You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, the podcast is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And we love getting those emails from you as well, lockedonrays@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join Ulises and I this week to get in on the Tampa Bay Rays action and conversation. That is Spotify Green Room. And Ulises, today we continue our player reviews.
and the crowd goes wild.
Standing ovation for player reviews.
Oh my God, yes. And you know who we got on the docket today? Mr. Biceps himself, Mr. Yandy Díaz. Kevin, are you excited for today's episode?
I thought Mr. Biceps was Ryan Yarbrough, not Yandy Díaz.
Why do you call Ryan Yarbrough Mr. Biceps and not Yandy Díaz? Is it potable?
It's what's the term?
Oh God.
I
don't know where you're going with this.
It would be an ironic because Yarbrough is so long and lanky.
Okay. Missed that one.
Far from Mr.
I
Biceps,
whiffed on that like Nelson Cruz did on off-speed stuff down and away in the playoffs.
That's okay. You have not gotten past it, clearly.
Yeah, no, I whiffed on that like Brendan Lau whiffed on a bunt attempt
18 times just about
with 2 strikes. No, I'm totally over the playoffs, Kevin. Yeah. I'm totally over it. Yandy Díaz. But before we get to Yandy Díaz and all the positives and all the negatives and his future with the team, which is the layout of these player review segments one by one, I just want to say Charlie bleeping Morton is just a man's man.
Yes.
Dude had a broken leg. On a broken leg, he goes out there and still gives it his best. I mean, that's a standing ovation for Charlie freaking Morton over there.
Pretty impressive. And I still think, even with Morton's injury, that the Braves still pull this thing out. Pull it out for Charlie.
Let's go.
What's so funny is I had checked into that game and saw that Charlie Morton was pulled, and I had no idea about the injury. I just assumed this was some bullpenning maneuvering, like, oh, okay, they're going to take Charlie Morton out early and try to bring him back. No, he was legitimately hurt.
That's the Snitker way.
Yeah.
If you don't have a broken bone, you're staying out there as a starter. So no, hopefully Charlie Morton recovers. But let's talk about Yandy Díaz. Mr. Biceps, not Yarbrough people. Mr. Yandy Díaz. His slash line for the 2021 season, a 256 average, 353 on base, a 387 slugging. That means a 740 OPS. He had 13 home runs, 64 rubies to go with that. He played in 134 games, 465 at-bats. Kevin, what were your biggest positives from Yandy Díaz in the 2021 season?
Solid all the way around, I think, for the most part. He had, really, if you combine it, the best strikeout to walk ratio on the team. He led the team in walks. He was second on the team in on-base percentage. He had the second best swing and miss rate on the team behind only, wait for it, Wander Franco. In other words, he's, in this day and age of baseball, of strikeouts and home runs, he's a breath of fresh air. He's a hitter. He understands the strike zone. He understands plate discipline. And I know that we joke about how strong he is, the biceps, the build. I think he is a guy that if he wanted to hit 25, 28 home runs, he could do that. Sort of like there was the old conversation about Ichiro Suzuki, how if Ichiro wanted to hit home runs, he could do that. But then he might be a lesser player or go away from an approach that makes him, for the most part, an everyday big leaguer. I'm talking about Yandy Díaz now. So we look at his numbers, and I would say solid all the way around, about what you would expect. And what I really liked from him this year was the fact that he stayed healthy for the most part. Did he have an injured list stint? I know he missed a couple games here and there. He had a rib issue, but
he had the neck issue, but I don't think he actually went on the IL for that. He was wearing that little neck patch, which I should do for work for stress purposes.
We should all do that.
We should all do that, right?
134 games.
465 at bats, Kevin. That's not a platoon kind of guy. I mean, this guy was getting at bats and was making the most with them. And I'll go further on your point with the strike zone discipline. He ranked 15th in all of Major League Baseball in walk percentage. He actually ranked 39th in all MLB in K rate. So that means that he's just not giving easy outs. And you talk about that discipline. You talk about the fact that he could get more power. With more power, you're going to see that K rate increase. But if you're ranked 40th in something good, like the lack of strikeouts, you might not want to change that approach too much. And again, 15th in all MLB with 465 at-bats, that's nothing to sneeze at, Kevin.
No, it's not. And the other thing about Yandy that I like is the fact that he really, in a way, got stronger after the All-Star break. He hit 9 home runs and had 10 doubles in 57 games post All-Star break, where this is a guy who the most games he had played in the big leagues was 79 games. So I think that is a huge thing. And to your point about some of the plate discipline numbers and his understanding of the strike zone, I've got one more stat for you. His outside swing percentage, which is the percentage of pitches a batter swings at that are outside the strike zone. Where do you think he ranked in all of baseball in that category?
Percentile wise, or
just percent, or just where he ranked numbers wise? You don't have to give me the actual percent or anything like that. Just 1 through 50, 1 through 100, 1 through 200.
I'm gonna say the top 40.
Better than top 40, top 10.
Wow.
He was 9th.
Look at
so
that.
If there's a pitch outside of the strike zone, he usually just spits at it. And I'll just say the guys who ranked ahead of him were Juan Soto 1, Max Muncy 2, Robbie Grossman 3, Tommy Pham 4, Trent Grisham 5, Miles Straw 6, Joey Gallo 7th, and Andrew McCutchen 8th. So I really don't know what more positives we can say about Yandy Díaz, just the consistent factor of this is really the player he is.
No, and I'll do one more.
Okay.
The splits. I mean, we know that obviously he's going to fare better against lefties, but look at the difference in at least OPS, a 690 OPS against righties, 812 OPS, the slash line, 288, 367, 445. You can see more power against lefties instead of right-handers. But I love the fact that even though he does skew as to more power and maybe more contact against lefties, let's look at the on-base percentage with righties and with lefties. Against righties, he's at 344 on base. Against lefties, 367. Yeah, it is higher against lefties, but it's right there. I mean, that's a guy that no matter if he's facing a righty or a lefty, that discipline is going nowhere.
Yeah, he can be and is an everyday player.
Yes.
And I think that's valuable even for a team that uses the platoon advantage as much as the Rays do. Also, talking about a guy that struggled at the Trop yesterday, Nelson Cruz. Well, Yandy Díaz is very good at the Trop, or at least he was very good this past year, 786 OPS. And I guess we can't move on without mentioning this about Yandy. His signature, if there's a pitch outside but in the zone, he has no problem, no issue, just pushing it the other way for a base hit, taking what the pitcher gives him.
Yeah, and again, almost a 2-WAR player, at least by Fangraphs. Did you get his baseball ref?
Yes, it is 1.6 on the docket.
Look at that. F4 has him at 1.8. So almost a 2-WAR player. This is a starter. This is a starter in your team. I think we've seen a lot of positives. And another thing that could be a positive for anybody listening to this episode is Spotify Green Room.
Absolutely.
Because Green Room is the first social audio platform made for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you're in, you can talk with us, other fans, athletes, and insiders in real time about your favorite team or sport. Go download the free Green Room app right now, currently available on all iOS devices. Be sure to create a profile, link your Twitter, get a pretty profile picture of yourself, and join the MLB group, and why not the Tampa Bay Rays group for the latest league updates. Green Room, changing the way that we talk sports.
Okay, looking at some of the negatives with Yandy Díaz, I'll just point out a couple statistics here. 28th percentile in outs above average, 35th percentile in barrel percentage. We know Yandy's not going to be a burner, but 39th percentile in sprint speed. That actually might be better than I originally thought. 47th percentile in hard hit percentage and 35th percentile in X slug. If there's one maybe overarching drawback that I have with Yandy, of course, we'd love to see more power from him. I think that goes without saying. But the defense, particularly game 4 of the playoffs, maybe some recency bias there, still sticks out to me at third base, where it might be average at best. We talk about the off-balance poor throw to G-Man Choi in game 4. And then before that, there was, a slow bouncer from Christian Vasquez that Yandy Díaz, trying to move and dive to his left, just whiffed on it and couldn't get there in time. So here's the thing I would say with Yandy. I don't think he's a bad third baseman. I just think that he doesn't have much range or much agility or quickness. He'll handle some backhand plays now and again, but if you have to get low, if there's a ball below his waist, I think that's more of a challenge for him compared to a guy like Joey Wendle. And maybe that's more of maybe what happened in game 4 is more of an indictment on the front office and the coaching staff for not making a defensive replacement by putting Joey Wendle in that situation at third base, or not adding Taylor Walls to the roster there. I don't know if I don't know if Yandy Díaz is the guy you want at third base in the 9th inning in a tie ball game where a ball is hit to him that you expect him to make that play a majority of the time.
If I had intern McGee available right now, you know what I would ask? I would ask for all the instances where the ball game was tied and Joey Wendle was available on the bench and Yandy Díaz was on third and he didn't get subbed out. That would take a lot of research, but if we were able to do that, I would be very surprised to see more often than not that Yandy doesn't get subbed out. And that's what happened in the playoffs. Yeah. You hit it with the one word. If I had to pick one negative about his defensive skills, would be the range. The R word. It's the range. I think he is quick-handed. I think he's smooth-handed. But the range, it's like 2 steps to the right to the line, and then like 1.5 steps to his left glove side. So, and you're right. The diving play more than a couple of lunges. That is just not his take. And you gotta, mobility is such a big factor defensively when you are that top heavy.
Right.
You're not giving yourself an advantage to make those plays, Kevin. In third base, we had grown accustomed to a type of play at third base. When you had Evan, I am so good Longoria from 2008 to 2017. 3 gold gloves. Endless great plays coming in, going to his left, going to his right. Double plays started right at the chest of the second baseman or the shortstop. You've kind of missed that since 2017. It seems like the front office, and you can call this a conspiracy theory here, but I think in their data crunching analysis, they've kind of found out that third base defensive skills and first base defensive skills might be somewhere that they're okay with taking a bit of a drop off. And you can see that with Ji-Man Choi, with Yandy Díaz. They're okay with maybe losing a little bit if they're gaining something with the bat.
Certainly. Maybe it's one of those things where if guys are going to pull it that way, I mean, how many times is the ball just going to be hit over the third baseman's head and be a fly ball or be a home run, whatever it may be. So, and if you have a capable second baseman or shortstop that can maybe make up for the deficiencies of a slow-footed third baseman, maybe that's something to be said as well. And I'm not trying to say that Yandy Díaz is the worst third baseman of all time. It's just we have to talk about a negative here, and that's he's not going to be mistaken for Matt Chapman or Nolan Arenado or anything like that. Now, I will say about Yandy is he does have quick reflexes in the sense of a ball hit right at him, right at his face. He can put the glove up and snag that ball. But if you're talking about him getting into a very athletic posture, that's where he struggles a little bit. And I wonder if, going forward, and we'll probably get into this, his future with the team as well, but if he would be better served by almost just being exclusively first base DH, maybe less of that physical and mental toll can have a positive impact on the bat a little bit more.
Yeah, perhaps. Again, it'll all depend on how the rest of the roster construction happens, but I wouldn't mind that. Again, we've said, you are on the Austin Meadows first baseman camp.
Yeah.
I'm on the Brandon Lau first baseman camp. Imagine those two guys with Yandy Díaz as the platoon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty nice platoon that you got yourself there. You said something earlier that you were surprised about Yandy Díaz's sprint speed percentile. I think you said 39.
39th percentile, correct.
I was surprised too.
Yeah.
I was not surprised at the grounded into double plays. Do you know how many he had this year?
I would say at least a dozen. I'm going to say 14.
11.
11. Okay.
Pretty high. So that's the thing. Although his ground ball percentage was his lowest of his careers this year at 51.8%, he still had 11 grounded into double plays. I mean, those are rally killers. So you've got to talk about the negatives. Those are rally killers. Those two first hurt a lot. With the mobility, we talked about the mobility defensively. It also happens when you're, with the bat.
Yeah. It's funny because, I mean, the Rays we remember when he was with the Cleveland Indians, like he couldn't hit a home run to save his life. I mean, in 260 plate appearances and I mean, basically half a season, he had one home run with the Indians. So the Rays got him to buy into, we can talk about the launch, perfect contact point to where, again, he's not a big tower guy. He has the ability. We've seen him hit 440-foot bombs to straightaway center at the Trop out of the ballpark. We've seen that, and we can look at his exit velocity numbers, and those speak for themselves. But I wonder if, and so really first credit to the Rays for, kind of more tapping into his potential, his power potential a little bit. And I don't want to take away from Yandy Díaz's approach because it is an approach that has staying power. You can find a job with what he's doing at the plate, but maybe being a little bit more aggressive, particularly on first pitches. Yeah. So if you see one, and I know he likes to take a lot of pitches, but if you see a pitch that you feel like you can do damage on first pitch of the at-bat, go for it. And maybe that's where he can tap into his power a little bit more. We've seen that with Brandon Lau, at least during the regular season, where he would just feast on first pitch strikes.
That's one thing. When you talk about approach, I kind of looked at his numbers, the ground ball percentage being lowest ever, barrel percentage going down, the launch angle being the highest ever, career high at 6.6, the most pull percentage that he has ever had, almost at 35% pulling. That's not the Yandy Díaz that we have grown to love.
Right.
So when you talk about approach, I already think 2021 has had a change in approach in Yandy Díaz. I don't think this is a Yandy Díaz that we knew before 2021. The launch angle's up, less ground balls. You talk about the exit velocity. It wasn't his lowest ever, but it also wasn't in the top 3. So, I think he is changing his approach in 2021. We'll see where that takes him in 2022. But I worry about somebody changing too many things in what has made them successful. And we talked about that with Nelson Cruz, that maybe he changed his approach when he came to the Rays, either mentally or physically. I wouldn't want to change Yandy Díaz's approach too much, because I feel like you've got a really good player there already.
That's very fair. And I think, man, I would love to do a great transition for this live read, but we got to just assume that Yandy Díaz is tapping into some built bars.
My goodness.
With those biceps, that strength, with that upper body, with that chest, come on.
You could get so much built bars into each of those biceps. I mean, you could get coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry mint brownie on the right bicep, and you got double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream on the left. So many flavors you got in built bars. You got a mixed box. You can get 2 of each of these flavors. They're amazing. They're healthy. They're delicious. You all know my favorite is peanut butter brownie. I cannot get enough. 17 to 18 grams in protein. Calories are ranging from 130 to 180. Only 4 to 5 grams sugar. Only 4 to 5 grams net carbs. Again, amazing flavors. They're all tasty and all healthy. And you already know what you have to do. You just go to built.com and you choose your flavors, you choose your box, and then you're like, oh, I'm ready to purchase. And then you remember, no, I cannot purchase without the promo code. The promo code is LOCKED15, LOCKED15. You put that bad boy in there and you get 15% off all those healthy, delicious Built Bars. So go today to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get yourself some tasty, healthy, delicious Built Bars.
Or you could just text Yandy Díaz for the hookup, and he could probably help you out.
That's true.
With a box or 2.
Yes.
BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all the basketball and football action this season. So be sure to head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. Again, that's LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline, it is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, and it's where the game starts. Okay, Ulises, looking at Yandy's future with the Rays, he is arbitration eligible for the first time in his career, as far as I understand it. And according to MLB trade rumors, at least an analysis that they've done, they project him to collect roughly $2.7 million in that first year of arbitration. Now, I do not work for the Rays. I do not have No, I'm not.
What?
I'm not a.
What is this?
I'm not a sleeper cell here.
That's an inside joke, fellas.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Ladies and gents.
Let me just say this. No, I do not work for the Rays, even though there might be some people that think that. But I would advise that, you pick up that check. You pick up that $2.7 million for Yandy Díaz.
I mean, and look, I got him at Spot Track said 2.5. So
okay.
Somewhere around though, 2.5, 2.7. Okay, let's have 2.6.
Yes.
Yeah, you pay the man.
Mm-hmm.
You pay the man. How much was G-Mon's last year that they went into this whole
2.45? So here's my thing. God. Okay, if that 2.7 is like, that's a lot of money, here's what you do. You just get rid of G-Man. You get rid of Jordan Luplow. Heck, maybe if you really have to stomach it, you get rid of Manny Margot or Brett Phillips and open up a spot for one of the young prospects on the 40-man roster. But I'm keeping Yandy Díaz, at least for this first year of arbitration.
I don't see how you get rid of Yandy Díaz yet. You just don't. And 2.5, 2.7, pay the man.
Especially if you're not bringing Nelson Cruz back. You need that right-handed bat. Look, he's not going to provide the power that Nelson Cruz is, but you need guys in that lineup that can do what Yandy does.
Ranked 15th in all MLB in walk percentage. Yeah. He gets on base. Ranked 39th in all MLB in K rate. He doesn't strike out. I know the grounded into double plays are a big negative. And I understand that. And I hate that. Who doesn't hate seeing their player get into a grounded into double play? But the fact of the matter, the positives outweigh. Being on base outweighs. Having a change of pace within the lineup matters. And knowing that you can put this guy effectively above a power hitter or somebody who is struggling right behind him. You put him right behind that person who's struggling. He can give you so much depth in that lineup for 2.5, for 2.75 mil. I don't see how this is a no, honestly. And because also, I don't think, just like with Kevin Kiermaier, I don't think other teams would value what he does best as much as the Rays do. So in a trade value situation, I don't think you would be able to get what you should be obtaining for Yandy Díaz, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, and I think the marketing team would like to have Yandy back. You've got the whole, you can do the beach tank promotion. And you know what, if we're ranking hairstyles and looks and everything of that nature, Yandy's got a good set of eyebrows on him. He's up there with Nelson Cruz.
Yo, that beard though?
Yeah.
I mean, I try to keep mine as best as possible, but I mean, Yandy's in another level. Right?
He's got some things going for him. And let's also keep this in mind. I mentioned how Yandy didn't have or couldn't tap into his power when he was with the Cleveland Indians. In fact, in the minor leagues.
Oh, I think that's Guardians now, actually. Oh, actually, it might not be Guardians anymore. Did you see that? There's like a rollerblade team. Just quick aside, people.
Yes.
Apparently, there's a rollerblade team that's called Cleveland Guardians. So now they're suing the Cleveland former Indians, now Guardians, because
Cleveland Hits. Like, it's Google. Right there in front of you. Cleveland Hits. You play on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and batters
or
Cleveland
Spiders.
Hits.
You know, get over the fear, people. Go with Spiders. Whatever. Okay.
Cleveland Stars. Anyway, let's remember that trade. Let's go back to that trade, if you will.
Yeah.
The Rays gave Cleveland $5 million and somebody named Jake Bauers, who, by the way, if we're doing some breaking news updates, got outrighted to AAA Tacoma. And let me also say this. I don't want to make this a hammer on Jake Bauers podcast, but Ulises, what is Jake Bauers' career WAR?
I'm going to say negative 0.6.
You would be correct. What is Jake Bauers' career OPS?
I would say 545.
655.
Okay.
Did you know that he was at one time viewed and rated as one of the Rays' top 5 prospects and one of the top 50 prospects in all of baseball? I rest my case about being a prospect hungry and huggery.
Thank you. This is why we do the podcast together, because this is the one thing that we're 100%. Stop loving prospects so much, people. Oh, this guy, but you know what he did in AAA? You know what he did in AA? You know what he did in single A? You know how old he was? You know, for his age, step it.
Yes.
It means 0 until you get to the major leagues. Oh my God, I almost dropped the mic again. It doesn't mean anything until you get to the major leagues. Yes, awesome that they're awesome in AA, AAA. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. It's so difficult to be successful in MLB. It's so difficult. That's why there are only 700 spots, because it's difficult.
Yes.
I rest my case.
There we go. Very good. So, are we in agreement that Yandy's going to be on the roster next year?
Yes. Okay. I would be very disappointed if he were not.
I agree.
Wait. Before this, Red Sharpie, baby.
I know. I wasn't going to bypass that.
Okay.
We were getting ready. The grade for Yandy Díaz. Look, I wish she had maybe a little bit of a higher average, although 256 in today's era, today's climate. That's basically like 280 if it was, 1997 or whatever it may be. And I would like to see a little bit more power, but we take everything into account. The player that Yandy Díaz is, I'm giving him a solid B. I'm going to give him an 85.
Boom. Boom. That's great.
Wow.
85 as well. That's exactly what I have him on. Now, Kevin, are we going to have a Friday episode this week?
We're not.
What? We're not? Okay.
I will be traveling out of town, out of the Tampa Bay area. So we will not have an episode on Friday.
Okay.
Which means...
What does that mean, Kevin?
Our last episode of this week will be Thursday.
Well, will there be trivia on Thursday, Kevin?
There will be trivia on Thursday, and we'll answer some listener questions, comments, concerns, and emails.
Ooh. And I think they're going to be about that TB12 600 tutty 600 whatever you call
touchdowns.
That's the one, tutty.
You are the biggest football fan of all time.
I know. Thank you.
You're regular John Madden.
Yes.
Oh
yes,
my gosh. So that, and if you want to try to sneak in a question or two, lockedonrays@gmail.com. And if we don't have time to get to it, we will, of course, save that for the next mailbag episode. But again, our email is always, it's literally always open, lockedonrays@gmail.com.
We don't lock it down. It's always open. But if you do have it, if you want to really give us your what would you ask for in that situation, you get a big price like the TB12 thing happened on Sunday. Tell us. Two people already did.
Yeah.
And I want to hear maybe from another Locked On Rays fan. So
I mean, I want six figures. I want a lot of money.
There you go.
I want a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing here with Yandy.
Oh yeah.
2022, assuming there's a 162 game season, over under 14 home runs.
I think that this is the beginning of a new Yandy.
Okay.
Career high launch angle, career low ground ball percentage. I'm going to say over.
Fair enough. Maybe some of it depends on the opponents and some of the ballparks he plays in. Like if it's a very short left field, then maybe he feels more aggressive.
Play him in
about
Orioles,
pulling the ball.
Against Orioles, yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I would have to look up what his home runs would be or how many home runs he would be compared to other ballparks. But it's so funny because he had 14 home runs in 79 games in 2019, had just 2 home runs in 34 games in 2020, and then had the 13 in 2021. I agree with you. I'm going over. I think he gets at least 15.
Look at that. Agreeing on home runs for 2022. Agreeing on salary. Agreeing on everything. Prospect hugging. We're against prospect hugging. Stop it.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yandy makes us agree. What can we say? Yandy makes us agree. Thank you for that as well. Ulises showing off the biceps. Johnny Bravo over there. Great show growing up on Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast. You're still doing it. Stop it.
Am I distracting you?
Very much so. Here, I'm going to cover you with my Word document. There we go. Thanks for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Make sure your second listen is the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is free and available on all platforms, just like Ulises' biceps.